Sanskrit then, huh? So how do you translate that? No, so what you will do then?
Yeah, how are you going to do that?
How you will do that when I say Sanskrit?
It's not going to happen.
You just sit quiet like this?
It's quiet like that, I think so. Yeah. For everybody. This is Joe Bocutt, one of our counselors.
How are you?
Zed from the Universal Society of Hinduism. He's offering the prayer today.
Very good.
Yeah.
We're glad you're here.
Thank you for
That
having me.
Interfaith Council is awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
thanks for
to
coming
Pamela.
out the other day. That was
Yeah.
great. That
Yeah.
was last week, 2 weeks ago.
I don't know.
I know.
You know, I can't
you need
remember
some-
yesterday. Yeah.
You need more meetings, Joe. That's what you need. I may not start at 5. He's from Jimmy Hughes, who is also a city councilman. Hi, Jimmy. Rajan Zed. He's from Universal Society of Hinduism.
Nice.
He's offering the prayer all the way from Reno just to do that.
Well, thank you.
And he met many
Thanks
of the
for inviting
officials
me,
today and visited with the Interfaith Council. So
Perfect.
yeah,
Well, welcome.
he's quite the
Thanks for
character.
inviting me.
Yeah, he's really quite fun.
We should be getting ready to start.
Ma'am, just a minute. I will sprinkle some drops of water. Okay? Yeah. Here, just here.
Somewhat.
I stand there?
No, I sprinkle drops of water. Okay.
I'm like, wait, what? Okay, what? Sure. You can bless me anytime.
John said he'd come out to meet you.
There's John right there.
Okay.
Have you met him yet?
No. He's
Oh,
coming.
he'll come down. Mayor John. I'm great. Rajan Zed.
Rajan, how are
Yeah,
you?
thanks for having me.
Oh, you bet. It's nice to.
Thank him.
You made St. George News today.
I know. Yeah, yesterday. Yeah.
Or yesterday.
Yesterday, whatever. Yeah. Well, and he's met with President Morby and President Williams at DSU. Spent an hour and a half with the Interfaith Council. It was just delightful. You know, really,
Wonderful.
really got to meet him, and he's just really fun.
John, I need to take a picture with the council before we start. Okay?
Okay, should we do that right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, we are all here. Yeah, we can
Yeah,
do it right
yeah,
now.
that'd be good.
Let's see.
Yeah,
one,
He's
two,
met
three.
everybody but Michelle. So.
Okay. And I haven't seen Betty. But
We can take it here, no?
should we take it right here?
Yes, so we can get the sign also.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Are you going to
I'll
take
take
it?
it. I'll use this phone. And
So
we'll
you
take
want
it.
to call others? No, they should come here.
Yeah, that'd be the best. Christina, you want to join this photo? Yes. You're part of the team. Yeah, Adam, get in here. Michelle, this is Rajan Zed. He is the president of the Universal Society of Hinduism. He's a hugger. We want to get a photo. Somebody stand behind you. No, we want to be able to see the sign a little bit. Okay, we do it that way. Yep, I got you all. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's great. One more? I already took 4. Yeah, they're free and it's your camera. I don't care. No, I'm really good with these. Thank you all. That's a nice thing. I would love to. I certainly would love to. I did was I already emailed that to me, and I'm going to send you an email with the names of everybody that's on there.
Okay.
And I also wrote up an article about you visiting with the Interfaith Council.
In your newsletter?
No, I just, we'll be sending it to our church, the LDS church, because they want to know.
Okay.
And I sent you a copy of all that.
Okay. But let me, you have a cell phone?
Yeah.
Let me show you something. Can you go to Google? Okay, LDS.org.
We have one Boy Scout here who's not in his uniform, but he's going to lead the pledge.
Okie
Okay?
dokie.
Is that okay?
I guess.
You're not going to be mad, are you?
LDS.org.
Yeah.
LDS.org.
It just goes to the church.
So search this one. Type my name.
Smoothie you?
No, it is the. Oh no,
Yeah.
it is no because I helped the when what is it? He
Yeah.
died. I sent
Yeah.
a grievance. Is what is it, when he died?
Oh,
I
yeah.
paid tribute. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
So
Yeah, there you are.
the only coffee is holding me. You know?
Now, normally after we give the prayer, we sneak out.
Okay.
You won't be able to sneak out dressed as you are. But,
Okay. We'll try. You know.
yeah. I'm gonna sit back here.
Okay. I had a question about the restaurant. Let me ask you.
Huh?
I have a list over there.
You want Indian food? There's an Indian restaurant. Yeah, Red Lion. There is an Indian restaurant. Yeah, huh?
No, I will try that regarding to. It might have vegetarian also. No?
I don't know. I'm sure they do, yeah. Everybody does.
You have been there?
I've been to Rigotti's many times. It's good pizza. Right downtown. Yeah.
So not very far from here.
No.
I can stop by on the way.
Yes. Easy. Yes, indeed. Are you going to come to my house to change?
Yeah, yeah.
Anytime.
So you want to go together or you want to do it?
No, I'm going to run because I have to go start fixing dinner for some people that are at our house.
Your house is like 20 minutes away.
My house? Now, are you going to eat before you change? You're going to go change and then
Another closer place.
change here? There's a restroom right out here, right around the corner.
That's what I would do. I saw that. Or right behind. Another room right behind. So what is that room?
Just a meeting room, but it's closed off.
Okay.
Or you can come to my house if you want. Whichever works.
So that will take me 20 minutes. Coming
It
from
would.
going.
Right.
40 minutes.
Well, it's 15 minutes, yeah. 15 minutes.
I will come back. Go to pizza.
Well, Rigotti's is right downtown, yeah.
But I will come back to the garden. Another 10 minutes from the home.
So you're half an hour away. Half an hour from eating when you finish here.
So once I reach the garden, it will half an hour.
So once you leave here, you go to my
Should we do it, Joe? No. We'll just go. Yeah. I'm just trying to decide. All right. I know it's past 5 o'clock, so we probably better get started on our city council meeting. Hello, Ed. Good to see you all. We are just minus one council member. Betty Ariel is out of town, but otherwise we've got the rest of the council and city manager here, and we might have an attorney somewhere, I'm not sure.
I feel awfully lonely over here.
Do you feel lonely? You can scoot down if you
I'm
want.
just going to say that.
He's very secure in his secureness. How's that? Well, let's get started today. We are so pleased to have with us today Rajan Zed, who is the president of the Universal Society of Hinduism. And so we are so pleased to have you here,
Thank you for having me.
Rajan, and it's been great to meet you and talk to you for a few minutes. I'm sure we'll see you again. Again, he's met today with the St. George Area Interfaith Council, and so we're just pleased to have you and have you pray for us today.
Thanks for having me. Starting with Gayatri Mantra, which is considered the most sacred mantra of Hinduism, I shall be reading from ancient Hindu scriptures, Rig Veda, Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita, some as old as 1500 before the Common Era. I shall be reading in Sanskrit and then interpret in English. So may all rise please. May all rise please, yeah. Thanks. Om Bhurvubah Svah Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayat. We meditate on the transcendental glory of the Deity Supreme, who is inside the heart of the earth, inside the life of the sky, and inside the soul of the heaven. May He stimulate and illuminate our minds. Asto ma sadgamya, tamso ma jyotirgamya, mrityor mamratam gamya. Lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness to light, lead us from death to immortality. Tasmada sakta statam karyam karma samachara, sakto hya charan karma paramapnoti purusha. Karmaneva hi samsiddhi mastita jankadya, loka sangreha mevapi sampa shankar tumrahasi. Strive constantly to serve the welfare of the world. By devotion to selfless, one attains the supreme goal of life. Do your work with the welfare of others always in mind. Om Saha Navavatu, Saha Nobunaktu, Saha Viryan Karva Bahai, Tejasvinavadita Mastu, Ma Vidvisa Bahai. May we be protected together, may we be nourished together, may we work together with great vigor, may our study be enlightening, may no obstacle arise between us. Samniva Akuti, Samna Hirdhyaniva, Samnamastu Omano, Yathava Susahasti. United your resolve, united your hearts, may your spirits be at one, that you may long together dwell in unity and concord. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. Om. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We appreciate again you being here. It's a pleasure, and we appreciate Tim. Please pass along our thanks for the Interfaith Council for providing invocations and thoughts as we begin our meetings every single week. I think we might have missed one in the last 5.5 years, so it's just wonderful. Appreciate it. Okay, let's have if we could, Pledge of Allegiance. I've asked Andrew Wyckoff, who is a scout from the Middleton area. Troop was at 399. Would you come and tell us what we need to do, Andrew?
Please stand. Please follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Where are you seated?
All right, Andrew, before you go, we always have to grill you just a little bit. But I told you, since you're by yourself, we won't grill you much, right? Oh, everybody, we'll just ask you, remind us what the Scout motto is.
Be prepared.
Ooh, see? You nailed it. Way to go, Andrew. Thank you.
That means he was prepared.
That's right.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate that. And it's appropriate because Andrew's dad works at the hospital. So I think maybe first we ought to go to Dixie Regional Medical Center update. They come to us every year between Mitch Cloward and Brian Chadas, who's the governing board chair. I'm seeing him with paper, so maybe Brian's the one that's going to be speaking to us today. Is that right, Mitch? So good to have you both here. Please come forward and tell us everything there is to know about Dixie Regional Medical Center. Well, maybe not everything, but you know. Oh, and Terry Draper is here too.
I'm just a finger.
If we really want to know who did it all, then
That's
there's
right.
Terry.
Yeah, Terry is.
That's exactly right. Board chairs come and go, even administrators, CEOs come and go, but Terry Draper's been here forever.
Yeah.
As our communications director, she really does do a good job. And as the mayor indicated, my name is Brian Chadas, chairman of the board for Dixie Regional Medical Center, and of course, Mitch Cloward, our administrator and CEO. So I'll try to talk a little bit about the hospital. If it gets technical at all, that's why Mitch is here, to answer the tough questions and make sure we explain things correctly. But the hospital enjoys a great relationship with this community. The community supports the hospital very much. As you know, we had an intense capital campaign to support the additional $300 million that was spent on the addition to the hospital to bring us to nearly 1 million square feet at the hospital. The community came up with, contributed $15 million towards that campaign. That's in addition to the $10 million that was raised for the hospital when it was initially built at its present location. And in addition to the $1 to $2 million that's raised each year during the last several years for the Jubilee of Trees. So this community believes in the hospital, and the hospital does everything it can do to serve the community well. And we appreciate the relationships we have with the various communities in this area, particularly the city of St. George. And I think I'd like to start off with something that happened this past year relative to our association with the city of St. George. Our emergency department, as you might imagine, that is a very volatile area. Accidents come in there, have drug situations, domestic violence. Emotions are high, things happen, and our physicians and our caretakers said, we are nervous. We need more help and security there than we presently have. The hospital has a security force, and they do a great job. But we felt like it was necessary that we have a trained police officer there that was armed to be able to diffuse situations or take care of situations. We don't even like to think of what may happen, but we want to be prepared if there is something that happens. Our good mayor, along with Sean Guzman, the city attorney, who also sits on our governing board, got together with our governing board and worked out a plan whereby a contract was entered into where we have a city police officer who is officed in the emergency department. They not only cover that area, but all areas of the hospital. And it wasn't without a lot of work and effort that Sean and the mayor and Intermountain got together and put together a contract that I think addresses the concerns and liabilities of both entities. And I think we have now a contract in place that will probably be used as a template for other communities who want to do such an arrangement as this. Our caregivers are appreciative of this service that we now have and feel much safer, and it's a very much needed service. So that's the kind of thing that happens back and forth with the hospital and the communities. And a special thanks to Mayor Pike and Sean and for the council supporting this, and it's appreciated very much.
Thanks, Brian. I'm glad that, and I feel really good about that. I think it's a great model that you helped us create, and Sean as well, and our police chief.
That's what I wanted to
Yep.
say. Is
That's
Chief
what I wanted to
Farnsworth.
say
Yep.
too.
Yep.
Thanks to
And
those guys.
apparently, we have a fantastic officer located there right now. Is that right, Mitchell? Yeah.
Coincidentally, just a matter of a few days after that was put in place, we had an incident. It wasn't a serious one, but it was handled quickly. And I think there's some benefits that go both ways too. That campus is huge. And so to have a police officer and officers there that are familiar with the campus, if there's an emergency, they are familiar with which building to go to, what floor, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a really symbiotic relationship that I think helps all. So let me just move along in some other things here we'd like to to present. First of all, the Intermountain Healthcare. We are part of a great corporation. Intermountain Healthcare was recently ranked third most innovative healthcare system in the nation by the National Advisory Council. You might recognize some of those other names that are around us. Mayo Clinic, Cleveland Clinic, Kaiser, and there's Intermountain Healthcare. So it's a wonderful corporation, world recognized as a leader in healthcare, and Dixie Regional Medical Center benefits from that relationship with Intermountain Healthcare. And just to update you on some of the great things that are happening at Dixie Regional Medical Center, our Genomics Center, most people are familiar with that. And of course, their lead is trying to cure cancer, quite frankly, or figure it out and be able to extend lives. They were recently given the Governor's Award. And when people think of genomics, there's just a myriad of things that can be done there. For example, I was talking to one of the physicians there, and he was saying that with genomics, they can now go in and identify if somebody has like a bipolar situation. You've heard stories, horror stories of, well, I was on this medication, it didn't work, so they tried this one, it was better, but it didn't work. Now they can go in using genomics and say, this person, because of their genomics, we know that this drug is going to work better for this person. So there's just all kinds of things like that that are going to be discovered with what's going on there. And we've entered into a research contract with Stanford. So not only are they treating patients, but there's research going on there as well. TAVR stands for transcatheter aortic valve replacement. Now if you need to have your heart valve replaced, instead of opening up your chest, they can go through an artery, go in, take that valve through the artery, get it to the place where it needs to go, let it go, and it expands, and there's your new valve. And instead of being there 2 weeks recovering, 48 hours is the average on when people are there to recover from that type of operation. It's just mind-boggling what they're doing. Access Center, mental health, we're able to treat a lot more situations relative to mental health. Connect Care as far as being able to do it online. And our Live Well Center. Now these are things that we can do because we are a not-for-profit entity, meaning that at the end of the year, we, Intermountain and Dixie Regional Medical Center, instead of having investors tell us how to divvy out any excess that there are, we can use those funds to do these types of things to improve what we can offer our patients. Our motto is helping people live the healthiest lives possible. And we really put our money where our mouth is on this. We've got a Live Well Center now that helps people understand what they need to do to take better care of themselves. Quite frankly, if we want better health, we're number one responsible for that relative to having an active life, watching our weight, et cetera, et cetera. And the Live Well Center helps people do exactly that, live the healthiest lives possible. We are led by a volunteer governing board. As you look up there, hopefully you'll see some of your friends and neighbors who help represent the hospital. There's Sean on the bottom there, third from the left. He's a great contributor to the board. And I think we have a great, diverse, talented board that bring a lot to the table. I really enjoy working with all of them. The economic impact of the hospital is extremely important to this community. I remember I'm involved in banking and finance in 2007, 2008, when we were wallowing through the woes of the Great Recession. I was lower than a snake's belly and just wondering what we were going to do with various situations. And I went to a meeting at the hospital, and when I got there, the parking lots were overflowing. And so what I'm saying is when the economy is going like this, the hospital is the steadying force, economic force in this area during all times. And so the impact, economic impact, just can't be stressed enough. We have over 4,000 caregivers. You can see how it's broken down there. We are Washington County's largest private employer by the number of employees. When you put the average wage there, our average wage is higher than the average. You can see what kind of impact it has. The expansion projects, we talked about the $300 million. Even though we're a not-for-profit, many of our properties, because of the situation, we still pay property taxes, so we're the third largest property taxpayer. And this last part here, charity care, this is what we're mostly very proud of, and that is $35.7 million of charity care. That's not total, that's in 1 year, 2018, as far as the charity care in 2018.
And it also doesn't include bad debt.
Doesn't include bad debt. You can't count bad debt as charity care. So thank you for clarifying that. So you can see the jobs there. 5% of the work of jobs offered is from the hospital. 10% of job earnings is from the hospital. And the GDP, we contribute 10% of the GDP. So this is secondary, of course, to patient care. That's why we're there. But sometimes people forget what an economic driver the hospital is for this area. So we like to stress that every once in a while. And we also are very committed to education. Shows there, for example, providing education for nurses, nursing students, and we work closely with Dixie State University with tuition, and of course we're looking for some of those students to come and work at the hospital then. So it's a great, again, a great relationship with people in the area. And again, we've talked about philanthropy a little bit, but again, we're up to $16 million with our recent capital campaign for this add-on to the hospital. We're grateful for the many partnerships we have in this community with us, between us and the public and the communities. And I just congratulate and compliment Mitch and his staff. Part of our responsibilities, probably the biggest responsibility we have as far as governing board members, are to be a liaison between the public and the hospital. And so people are not bashful to come up to me and express their thoughts about the hospital. And I have to say, 90% plus of the time, they search me out to compliment the care that they've been given. Not everybody, it's not 100%, but it's pretty close. And it's amazing to me that, and it's appreciated in this community. So again, Mitch, I turn the time over to you to make a few comments.
Thank you, Brian.
I would just simply say we're grateful for the support of the City Council, the City of St. George, and we're honored to serve citizens of our community. Thank you.
Also, just have to mention, I really didn't play up enough. Andrew Wyckoff's father was actually the planner who planned the expansion of the hospital. And so make sure you give your dad our thanks, okay, Andrew? Because that's a lot of work, right, Mitch?
That is, John knows he did it himself in the first round.
I did it once a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Mayor, before they leave,
Yep.
and I know I bring this up every time, but one of the things that they do for us that we appreciate, but maybe the community doesn't realize, is the BMED, the behavioral health, and the expansion that we did at the hospital. But that, if it wasn't for what they do there, there would be no beds here in southern Utah for those people. And we all know, and the chief will tell you how difficult it is to get someone up to the state hospital or even admitted there. And we do have those needs here.
And I'm sure it's not a moneymaker, but it's one of those necessities, those needs that's here that probably the state should be handling, but Intermountain has stepped up and is taking care of. And it means a lot to our officers that there's somewhere to take them when we need to.
Yeah,
Thanks, Sean.
it's a good point.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Appreciate all that the hospital does for us, and appreciate all the statistics you bring, and that's helpful to us. In fact, some of this we've included just a few things in our budget report actually that comes that's produced by Deanna Berklasich. She actually lists. I'll show it to you, Mitch. But she lists a few things, kind of highlights in the community, and she lists several things about the hospital. So, including the governor's award, I believe, was mentioned. So. Anyway, we do pay attention, and we appreciate what you and all the caregivers provide. And I was impressed. I was going to mention it, but everyone already caught on. Brian, you sound like a doctor, but you're a banker. And so that's impressive. You've gotten into your work, and I know you've been involved for some time. So thank you, and all of the volunteer board members.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you so much.
And you know, Mayor, we have all those volunteer citizens. Recently, Sister Allen passed away, and I can remember walking into the hospital, and she's always there at that front desk helping you find your way. So a lot of citizen volunteers.
Well, it's how I know the hospital and many other organizations, that's how we survive and thrive, is based on volunteers. I don't know how many there are now, Mitch, but there used to be several hundred.
Yeah, it's around.
It's significant, but
392. Yeah, 392.
I was going to guess 400 because and that's been ongoing, and you know, there's always someone else who wants to help, and so anyway, and again, the volunteer boards, that's again typical for this community. Right. Lots of volunteer boards doing lots of good work that make Utah's Dixie better. Yep. So thank you. All right. So next, Jariah Threlfall. We had to cancel a previous opportunity for Jariah to present kind of the state of St. George area economic development, which is a way we kind of like to say economic development for Washington County. I kind of like the name, St. George area. So anyway, thanks, Jariah, for being here.
Yeah, Santa Clara did get after me for not naming it the Santa Clara area. I
I
live out
know.
in Santa Clara.
I
I told them
know.
they were second place in the running, but we went with St. George.
That was a good move.
Yeah, they did give me a little grief. Well, I'm glad for the opportunity to come and present today. We appreciate, our organization, we appreciate the support that St. George City gives us. First and foremost, the mayor serving on our board. Just mentioned a lot of volunteer boards, and none of us need more meetings or more headaches in our life, but Mayor serves us very faithfully, and we appreciate it. And we appreciate all of the support from the council members in the city, and then, of course, the financial support that you give to us. So wanted to just give a quick update on what's going on, and just a quick reminder of, the work that we're doing, and thank you for your support, and ask you to continue it. So we're not a big office. There's just two of us. Many of you know Rusty Hughes. She's our vice president, and she does a lot of the heavy lifting. And no relation, I don't think, right, Jimmy?
No.
So, and then as we mentioned, we have a good board. We're down a couple of members right now that we're in the process of replacing, but we have 7 people who really help us out and put in a lot of time for us. Real quick, just as a reminder, you can boil our mission down into 2 words, and it's promote prosperity. We do that through what we call 4 core areas, or 4 key areas. We collect and provide data, projects that we call traditional economic development. That's what you usually think of with us, site visits and, expansion projects. And then we have a third category, non-traditional economic development. This could be all kinds of things. An example might be the airport. The airport itself didn't create a ton of jobs in the St. George area, but it created an environment that helped us recruit more businesses. So things that wouldn't fall in the traditional, we'll talk about that. And then the fourth thing we do is put on and host the Economic Summit as a fundraiser and as a showcase for our community. So I'll just quickly highlight a couple of things in each of these areas. Just to report back on the summit, the reason we do this is because since we do get contribution from different municipalities in Washington County, we like to let everyone know that we're working as hard as we can to raise as much money from the private sector and from our own efforts and spend our money wisely so that you know that the money that you're investing is being put to good use. We had our most profitable economic summit in the history, the 23-year history. I'm not sure, can't really see those numbers there, but our profit went up by 20% this year. Last year it was up 12%, and it was up the year before that. So I told my board we're probably done with the big increases. We've trimmed as much fat and done as much as we can, but we'll continue to try to do that. We get about 1/3 of our funding from that event. Some of our new partners that have come on board, Clyde Companies and Associated General Contractors and others who have helped us with that success. The traditional economic development that we do, the kind of our bread and butter, we call them FAM tours or familiation tours when people come to town. We've actually had, we're just in the process of switching to a fiscal year, so I'm giving a fiscal year report here instead of a year end. And we've actually had 9 of them this year, 9 different companies. Several of those have, 2 of them were just this week, so my slide still says 7, but a couple of them were here yesterday and the day before. So, and then I went out to 2 different companies in California that have done site visits here. We've gone out to their facilities and tried to help them line up all the vendors and things that they would need if they were to relocate here. We don't quite have an announcement like we hoped, but we have 2 that are really, really, really close, but I'm still under contract and not saying anything yet. But one of our projects that we call NoCal, not very hard code, they're coming from North California, they're in signing a lease right now. And so they're not ready to announce, but they're coming. They've identified a location, and the lease is being tossed back and forth. We were hoping it would be signed last week, but they're negotiating back and forth. They did this one on their own without a realtor, and so I think they both hoping to save a little money, but it sure is taking a lot longer. So the second one, Project Patriot, you know, if you came to our economic summit and watched our keynote speaker, you might be able to guess, but they have put an offer in on a building. It hasn't been accepted yet, but they're actually looking at 2 different buildings, and Project Molly is a third one who hasn't committed to relocating here yet, but is currently filling out an application for incentives through GoEd, and then we'll be working on a local incentive with you folks here.
I heard a rumor they've got one other state and location kind of courting them pretty hard.
They do.
Kind of
Yeah.
a big one, a big state.
Yeah, we like to remind people that if a state is giving you too much, there's probably a reason why they have to bribe you. I mean, there's incentives and then there's bribes, right? If you're getting a free building or if you're getting something like that, there's probably a reason. And so that's kind of the pitch we use, but hopefully we're in the top 2. So we've had some good success recently, hopefully some big announcements coming up. Mayor, yeah.
Hey, will you tell us, just remind us because I think you can, tell us what Molly does.
Yeah, Molly is one of the only ones that hasn't had to sign anything. That's Celine Motors. If any of you like to make your Mustangs more expensive, you know, get aftermarket parts, or your Teslas go a little faster, or go battery life lasts longer. Very exciting company. That's why we have the pictures. Oh, whoops. I didn't know that was a touchscreen. This is fancy. That's why we have the pictures on here. We've been working with them for close to 2 years. Everything, like you can see in the corner, we've designed marketing for them and how we think they should own the market down here. We've delivered posters and Dixie State cheerleading outfits for their newborn baby and right to their door in California. We've been working hard, and we're one of the 2 finalists, so hopefully we'll get that. We have a few others. Project Bell is one that makes composite telephone poles. They're interested in the Viracon building because there's not too many 275,000 square foot buildings with 50-foot wide columns and 8 dock bays. They called up kind of almost just ready to check us off the list. They said, we want to be close to the California market, but we're sure you don't have a building like this. And we said, well, actually we do. And so they've come out for a visit. Project Gamma is another one. This one will actually be going out in Hilldale. So it won't benefit St. George directly as far as it goes, but the community that we all care about, and you know, the rest of the counties at 3.7% unemployment, and Hilldale is at about 17%, depending on the count. So we're really excited to Our role's been very minimal in that, but we're helping with the incentive part. We're excited to help on that. And then we completed, or they were completed, 3 expansions that our organization's been involved with at various levels, Lighthouse, Wilson, and RAM. And those are on tap for 500 plus jobs, and over the last 3 or 4 years, they've been over 64 million in capital investment. So, any questions about those before we move on? We've got other projects, but those are the ones that are, we're getting a lot of inquiries right now out of California. The business environment is getting tough over there, and we're about as close to the market as you can be, but get a lot different experience. And to be honest, one of the Intermountain Healthcare has come up a lot of times. People ask about the healthcare. We've gotten a lot of information and passed it out from them. And then people have asked us about how the local leadership is. And I don't know if Mayor knows this, but we always offer to give the Mayor of St. George cell phone number to him because we know that he won't be upset. And they don't ever take it because they think, oh, I couldn't, his handler would get mad at me, or, if they're coming from LA, you don't do that.
Hey, I give it out.
Yeah.
No, yeah, exactly.
We always say, yeah, you could text him right now or call him and he'd answer it. You tell him who you are and he wouldn't be mad. And it's a great selling point, and it's true.
Other people call me at 2 a.m, so they might as well. Just
Yeah.
really make sure they take it. Yeah.
Yeah, if you do call past midnight, then you have to relocate here.
Yeah.
It's part of the deal. I put in a quick slide here, our non-traditional economic development projects. Obviously, Tech Ridge isn't a project of ours, but Tech Ridge represents what this city and the area is trying to do as far as to attract more tech companies. We meet with a lot of people. Mayor and Bryson Despain put together some, what do you call those, feedback groups, we'd get a hold of people who were coming on mountain biking trips to St. George with all of their tech CEO buddies, and then we'd meet them for breakfast and ask them, why aren't you in St. George? And a lot of them said, we'd love to be in St. George, but you don't quite have enough of the workforce with the experience that we need yet. And so a project that we're excited about, some of you may have heard about, it's called Park Data. It came out of our office in economic development, but it's in partnership with Dixie State University and Dixie Tech College, and with Zion National Park and the Zion Forever Foundation. And basically, we can pull up an app right now. I should have put that link in there. A lot of research is going into the park as far as how many visitors there really are, helping manage the user experience. And so we've put sensors, Park Data has put sensors all over the park. Right now, we can click on a link and you can see how many parking spots are available. In the past, they used to just put out a parking full sign every morning at 10 a.m. and then they leave it up till close. No one really knew if there was any parking available or not. We're also able to count how many people are on each trail, as far as hopefully avoiding the future permit system, or helping it if it ever comes to that. But our part of it, what we're excited about, is that this project is providing an opportunity to train the kind of people that Tech Ridge and other companies need, because Dixie Tech will be in charge of the app interface of the project. They've already pledged over $150,000 to it. We've got some funding being proposed right now. Dixie State University will be over the back-end data. They already have interns working on it, and they've actually got some space in their new science and technology building set up to be a sensor lab to continue building these sensors. So these sensors, the algorithms, everything will be developed here locally by local students. The project is growing. Right now, our office is going to a regional meeting with all the superintendents for all of the national parks in what they call the Western Pacific area. Anyway, just a great non-traditional economic development project. We helped get it started, and now we're just kind of nursing it along. Walt Brooks has kind of taken over as the champion for it, and he's running with it.
That's good.
Yeah. As soon as he took over, it started moving faster, and all of a sudden it was funded. So it helped. His experience has helped with that. Another project we're working on, this one's still in the infant stage, is a track. Saline Motors and 2 of the other companies that we're recruiting expressed interest in having a track where they could shoot their commercials and test their vehicles, as well as some companies looking to do autonomous driving. And then we've lined up with some legislators as far as getting a track so that local law enforcement could use it as well and not have to go up to Camp, is it Williams, David? One of those, the big track up north where they go and do the,
Yes,
Williams?
Camp Williams, yeah.
Having a smaller version here that would be a public-private partnership That's still in the infant stages, but just another example of a non-traditional project that we're working on. One of the other areas that we mentioned is we help collect data. We've done this unofficially. We've been out to over 50 businesses in the last year. It's finding out what their needs are, what we can do to help, what kind of products they have that might help other companies. And then we've also helped fund and participated in what's called an area sector analysis process study that's just being finished up this month that will help identify the most suitable industries for our area and the ones that we need the most to balance out our economy. So when one area goes down, another area stays up to help balance out, so we eventually have a more balanced economy. The last thing we wanted to point out real quick, part of our job is to try to help establish that we're a good investment. That there's a lot of ways to spend money. So we went through just, you can look at the salaries and you can look at, jobs and all of these things, but it's kind of hard to quantify sometimes. We might have a good year and help influence, 700 jobs, but that year the market on its own added 5,000 jobs. So we're part of that. It's hard to quantify. So we went through our 23-year history and we found all the businesses that we've helped bring here. And we just decided for this year we'd quantify property tax. And so the ones that are located in St. George, we went through and we divided out how that the total property tax is allocated. So the companies that we've helped bring in, for example, contribute $857,000 every year to the Washington County School District. To the state school district or the state school program, $265,000, and we went through and divided it up. St. George City, the portion that you guys get back, they have the little allocations on all of our tax slips, is $86,109 for this year. And so we feel like no matter what, when those businesses come and go, they're always charged their property tax on the building. And so the money that you're investing in us, we're doing our best to bring in more companies that will continue to pay property tax. It'll be returned to your budget and then also help the Washington County, all the other taxing entities in the area, in addition to the jobs and the flow of money in the economy. That's all I have. If anyone has any questions, I didn't want to take up too much of your time, but like I say, I truly do appreciate your support. We're always open for suggestions and for anything that we can do to try to help promote our area and promote prosperity.
Well, Jariah, you hit all the big ticket items, the things that get a lot of attention, and maybe just a little modest, but I know the mayor mentioned this to the public about the small business development here in St. George and how small businesses are developing, and you're not just reaching out to those big companies to bring in, but you've been working pretty hard to bring in small businesses.
We have, and we're trying to walk a fine line because there's a small business development center and we partner with them. But, for example, we're focusing on recruiting what we call small to mid-size engineering firms out of California. 30 to 70 people. They're receptive. They let us come and visit them or call them, and we pitch why they should be doing business here. And so, it's not as in the past we've gone after kind of the big 300 job projects, but we want the people that address that need of more talent in the area as far as the tech areas. And it's much easier for those companies to relocate. They're leasing in California. They can move here and lease. It's a much easier thing. So we've shifted our focus a little bit.
Any other questions or comments for Jariah? That's why we have him here.
I appreciate it.
We do appreciate all you do, Jariah, and I hope at least several of these things come to work out. That'd be really awesome. And even though we'd love to have them all in St. George, we're all in this together as a county, and that's the point. And we always say a rising tide lifts all boats. So we hope that you're successful in the ones that are in other areas too.
I appreciate it. Thanks to all of you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Well, no changes to the agenda, right? It's not a very long agenda, but no changes, Adam?
Nope, no changes.
Anything I've missed, Christina? Okay, then I think we will go ahead and go to the consent calendar. Adam, anything you'd say about it?
Nope. Any questions if you'd like to pull anything off? Otherwise, everything stands as presented.
Just Adam, number 9, the new hangar lease out there. Just confirm that with all of the construction is going to be taking place out at the airport, that everyone that's engaging in these new hangars and leases and so forth are fully aware of the conditions out there that exist.
Yeah, item D, we do make sure that they're aware of that. Yep.
Very good. If there are no questions, then I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Motion to approve this consent calendar.
Motion by Michelle with a second by Joe. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And we will go to item 2.
Mayor and Council, item 2 is one that you may be familiar with. We do this pretty much on an annual basis. Scott Taylor is here. He can provide some additional background if you'd like. Knowing that you've probably done this before, we did include an exhibit that was emailed to you separately. Hopefully you had a chance to kind of go through that. This year it's a little different. They didn't give us a score like they normally do. It's kind of a new way they do that. Scott's here to answer any questions or provide additional background if you'd like. Otherwise, you can proceed however you'd like.
Scott, is there anything you'd like to say? I mean, I hate to shortchange you, but is anything... I think you ought to come. Just at least give us just give us at least a brief synopsis, if not for us, for those that might be watching in TV land.
It might just be me, but I've noticed that every time there's something wastewater related on the agenda, nobody shows up to
Yeah. and yet, if it weren't working right,
they would all show up.
They would be here, right?
Yeah, we do this annually. It's a requirement of the Division of Water Quality. We do our self-assessment. As Adam mentioned in the past, we've been able to score ourselves and feel good about how well we're doing. This year, there's no score, so it's just I guess we're just getting a participation trophy when it's all said and done. But overall,
I've had a few of those.
We're doing very well. We have adequate staffing to adequately maintain and operate our collection system and our treatment plant. You know that we're under a huge expansion right now that will continue for probably 3 more years, and we're spending a lot of money doing that, but we are in a position that we prepared for it. So we feel good about where we're to. One thing this does, it really gives us an opportunity every year to kind of take a step back and make sure we're seeing the big picture, make sure that we're aware that growth is happening and that we are preparing ourselves and that we're in a position that we can handle the additional service. So I think we're doing very well.
Well, I won't speak for anyone, but I think I almost can. We have the greatest confidence in you and your team, Scott, so thank you for everything you do. We appreciate it, and again, this, just again, is important to go through all the steps we have to make sure we meet all and there are many regulatory requirements, and appreciate the significant project. I don't know if any have taken a picnic lunch out to the wastewater treatment center recently, but there's an enormous project going on there, as we all know, but it is, about $30+ million worth of concrete and steel and,
About 26 on the first phase, and then we'll see how the second phase goes.
Yeah, Mayor, I had the good fortune to try to go through this little addition that was sent out to us, and as I was doing so, I said, man, thank goodness we got Scott Taylor to read all this, to really put it together for us, because I know that you're on top of all of this stuff, and you're an employee to fill out all those forms. It was pretty neat, and the only thing that I caught in there that was interesting was the upgrading of the impact fees and how is that an in-progress issue that's taking place on some of
Yeah,
this?
that's, in fact, next week at the City Council work meeting, we'll be discussing our updates to our wastewater and water capital facilities plans.
Yeah. Well, he does a great job there. You're absolutely right.
well, Ed, could you frame that into a motion?
Make a motion to approve item number 2 as articulated, Mayor, approving the 2018 municipal wastewater planning program assessment.
It's Christina.
Sean, does that cover it?
Second. He wasn't listening.
No, as a resolution. Okay.
Okay, very good. We have a motion by Ed and a second by Michelle to approve this resolution. Any discussion? All in favor, starting with Jimmy, say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. Thank you all, and again, thanks Scott and your team. I don't know how to best thank everybody for all the hard work and great work. We just take it all for granted. But as the third graders say, or if I'm visiting the seniors at Mrs. Stukey's class at Dixie High, they want the toilets to flush every time. And so I know you do too, so thank you. And of course, it's way more than that, but appreciate it. Thanks. All right, number 3, Adam. Oh, we got Wes.
Wes will take this final plat for Blackhawk Townhomes.
This is a lengthy agenda. It's always interesting when the pre-agenda items are longer than the agenda.
He's got his beard back, Mayor.
And he looks
I went on
good.
vacation.
Very distinguished, Wes.
Too bad it has to go away.
So item 3 is a request to consider approval of a final plat for Black Hawk Townhome St. George Phase 2. Applicant is Rosenberg Associates. This final plat is for a 22-lot residential development located at 1001 West Curly Hollow Drive. So if you look right here, Curly Hollow Drive is right here. You just don't see it on here, and this is the subdivision road, and then it's these units right here. And then they have 2 more coming forward, 3 and 4.
Very good. Any questions, council?
Oh, motion to approve the final plat for Black Hawk Townhome, St. George Phase 2.
Second.
Motion by Michelle with a second by Jimmy. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, item 4 is a request to consider approval of amended subdivision plat for Lot 38 and 39 of the Highlands at Green Valley Phase 1. The applicant is Rosenberg Associates, and basically the request is to adjust the lot line between these 2 lots here. You can see this was the original lot line right there, and what happened is the wall did not get built in the exact location, so the property line is being revised. It'll follow the original line to that point there, and then it'll deviate to a maximum of about 3.86 feet to there. So we won't vacate the utility easement. This lot will just end up with more of the utility easement on their lot, but we'll keep the utility easement in the same location. So basically, it's just amending the lot line between the 2 lots.
Gotcha. Any questions, council? Ready for a motion.
Mayor, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the amended subdivision plat for the Highlands at Green Valley Phase 1 to amend the lot lines between lots 38 and 39.
Motion by Jimmy, second by Joe. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. That's it, right? Adam, before we finish up, will you just kind of tell us what the plan is for the next 2 Thursdays?
That is a great question. So 2 weeks from today, we have our neighborhood open house? No. That's 3 weeks from
Yeah.
today. So
Next week is work meeting, and we're going to do,
and budget,
so it's all budget on the 30th.
correct.
That's a 5th Thursday, I think, isn't it?
That's right.
So we're starting at 4 for both of those. Next week is also a 4 o'clock work meeting. Could be. Okay,
So is that the 23rd?
that is.
So then it means we'll be looking at the master plan for parks.
That's correct.
Which is a big
Parks
public deal.
and water.
And water, wastewater.
So what we can do is, let's see, do we have a quorum? You'll be there, Ed, you'll be there. I haven't heard anything otherwise from Betty. I will not probably be there for most of it because I'll be out of town. But Joe, we can get us up to speed with the information. And on the 30th, we doing okay for that one? You're going to be gone. Okay. Yeah. Me too. Yeah. It might be snowing. It did when I went that same time of year. So anyway, yeah, back in 18, no, just kidding. That was Joe. That was me. Yeah. Okay, so we should be okay for a quorum on the 30th. And then, let's see, getting into June, I think is that the 6th? That'll be a regular meeting. Adam, do you remember, was that going to be a big agenda, did we think, or no?
Which day?
The 6th of June?
So far, it's not a big agenda at all.
So maybe the third Thursday of June could be a longer
be,
agenda. And then the second Thursday of June is what you were talking about. Is that the open
It
house?
is the 13th, right?
Neighborhood meeting.
13th.
Seg Miller.
And Mayor, we have the budget review, is that on the 6th or something to approve?
No,
the budget?
we'll have a
We have
budget
two-
hearing.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, we'll have a budget hearing on the 6th, and then on the, what would that be, the 20th? We would have one more hearing, and then that would be the day we would
Right.
approve it. We need to approve it that day in order for,
We
to
should.
comply with state law. If we didn't, we'd have to call a special meeting like the next day or something. Okay, clear as mud. The other thing we'll look at, Adam and I will look at schedules in terms of holidays for July and so forth, just to see when we need to have regular meetings, and we may take off work meetings unless we need to do something special. Yeah, so we won't meet on that day for sure, but we'll just have to bump probably the regular meeting, depending on how busy. We could either cancel it, or we could, so we can look with staff. And then 24th. Do you? Well, no comment. Let's see.
Mayor, you got Memorial Day celebrations. What's that? Is that on the 27th?
Yes, there are a couple I know. Are any of you going out to Sun River? You've got the information on that.
I'm
And the
committed
St.
to
George
St.
one,
George.
David Cordero is speaking at that
Right.
one, at the St. George Cemetery. That one's at 9. Yeah, so I will be in Salt Lake at cemeteries up there. So if any of you want to divide and conquer, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, I committed to the St. George, the old
Okay.
cemetery.
I'll be at Sun River. I'm kind of queasy at cemeteries.
That's awesome. We call him Digger. Yeah. Okay, very good. Anything else this weekend? Just stuff. There's a car show. There's, Doctors Volunteer Clinic Gala fundraiser. There's, I don't know, the orchestra is tomorrow night. It's Bike to Work Day tomorrow, and rain or shine, by dang, I'm going to be riding my bike tomorrow, and it's the only day this week I could do it. So, anyway, also just one thought to really be thinking. The county commission has asked all the city mayors to report back to their councils, city managers, to basically say they are of a mind to impose the 0.25% sales tax for transportation and transit, but they would like to have some kind of indication, a formal indication, like a resolution from the cities. So they have asked for that. Be thinking about that. They're trying to do this relatively soon because it takes a while for it to happen. I think it would take till January probably. So that would tie potentially to the St. George to Springdale transportation line. Personally, I'd kind of like it to not tie directly to that, and that there might be, that we got to do this on its own merits. But we can talk about that maybe in a work meeting soon. Not next week, but maybe we can squeeze it in on the 30th or whatever. But be thinking about your thoughts about that. Obviously, we, at least, maybe not individually, but collectively as a city, supported the formation of Proposition 1 that was voted on by the citizens a few years ago. It actually passed by a few percentage points in our city and in Springdale City and in Ivins City. It did not pass on the whole. It was short by a couple percent. But nevertheless, the state legislature gave the cities well, gave the counties the first option to simply implement the tax without permission from the voters, essentially. The legislature does that all the time. They don't usually let us do it, but they have let us do it in this case through the counties first. If the counties fail to do so by, I can't remember, Sean's not here, but I think it's by next July, like 2020, then the cities could impose it. And in that case, we'd end up with a little bit more. We'd end up with, in our case, the full 0.25%. Otherwise, we end up in our case with 0.20%. Half's transit, half's transportation. Transportation also includes trails, by the way. So anyway, be thinking. Michelle and I talked a little bit earlier this week, as did Adam and I, about if that were to be imposed. Some of the good things and some of the things we were talking about are, you look around, and especially on a really wet year like this, and you see the sort of the vulnerability of a few of the areas of town, especially those annexed, like Bloomington Hills and parts of Bloomington, where the streets were never, built to the standards of the city, originally at least. The newer ones, the newer developments or homes, yes, but no curb and gutter in the old sections. Street lights are an issue. Drainage, and when I say drainage, look at Bloomington Hills in terms of the interesting, what would you call them? Drainages, washes, I don't know. It's a river when it rains. Yeah, and so I would say that if, this is just one thing, but if that were to be implemented, that tax, I think a first priority could be to the roads we haven't been able to get around to as much, and there are some. There's some, not just in those two areas, lots of areas, but Cameron told us it's about a 13-year time frame when you can redo roads. And that doesn't mean you tear them down to nothing and replace them. That means, with the various treatments. There's crack seal, there's chip seal, there's HA5 coating, and there's microsurface. There's various ways you can do it. But I think some people think they're going to get a completely replaced road every few years. Not so. We do everything we can to not do that, but we're falling a little short, because if you go 13 years, you're going to start losing, especially the streets that weren't ever built to city standards. So just a few thoughts to consider. I know it's not popular. It's not popular with me in terms of a tax, but both for that and transit, there's sort of one of those things, chicken or the egg. How can we make our transit more effective? Well, one way we identified through some work that Fred Davies did was expanding it beyond only covering half the city.
Mayor, I just drove out. I was through Washington City, and as you go out that way, all the way to Springdale, what a magnificent changes you see out there, and the growth is taking place as far as transportation. You can see the need, and if we can disperse some of these costs out, like having the tourists help pay for some of these roads.
Yeah,
that's great.
And that is a good point too, Ed, in that, the one benefit of the sales tax approach for transit and transportation is roughly 30%, even maybe a little more, of that is paid by visitors.
Right.
And so they do at least help in that type of a tax to pay for the things that they're using. I'd appreciate your thoughts too, because I'm involved in this transit from St. George to Springdale discussion. And I think what ought to happen is an actual request for proposals go out to really look at what the different options would be. Jimmy's been involved with this through the MPO and Betty, right? Yeah. But I think we ought to look to not just Suntran. In fact, I'm not sure if Suntran's the best solution to run that. I might rather, personally, I'm not imposing this on any of you, but have us stick to our city and making it work here. I'd like to see what a private business would propose for that Springdale to St. George line, and see if it could be as close to break even as possible. UDOT, through what they call hotspot tourism funding, has offered, as you know, I think, to they've given us a grant of $15 million to help with that transportation, because they have identified that through their processes and ours as an area that would be very valuable to reduce car traffic and parking issues. So, so I'm actually warm to the idea of doing that, but I would like it to be successful and be careful and not obligate the city of St. George or our citizens to any more liability financially than we have to. So think about that, and we'll revisit it here, I think, in the next few weeks. Adam, does that sound appropriate based on what you and I have talked about? Jimmy, because you represent the city at the MPO. A lot of interesting discussion. We have a consultant there that's been helping, but frankly, I'm still not, I think there needs to be a lot more work on it. And I'd like to separate that transit line from the 0.25% discussion if we can. I just think they're related, but they're not. So it could be a potential source of revenue for the county to help pay for it, but I feel like we need to use our .10 in St. George, at least mostly, like as much as possible if we're going to do it.
Well, we really need to look at it, and I know that the last MPO meeting I went to, they're on top of this stuff. They're projecting these roads and transit and so forth, so I know Jimmy's aware of that too, so it's there, Mayor. It just needs to be moved on.
Great.
There's so much happening in this
There
entire
is.
county. It's just alive and buzzing.
Do any of you have anything else? Otherwise, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn unless, Adam, do you have anything? Oh, we do need to have a quick closed session for property.
Did I hear the word quick?
Yes.
Yes, you did. Motion to adjourn from city council and go into closed session for property issues.
Second, motion by Michelle, second by Joe. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, starting with Jimmy, say aye.
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 All right. We will adjourn to a closed meeting, and then we will adjourn from there. So thank you all for being here. Scott Wyckoff, we talked about you in your absence. Thank you for your work on the hospital, and it was fun having your son here and your good wife, too. Thank you.